Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and today I have my guest is Alicia. Alicia runs the Etsy shop AH Engineer. And before I start talking to her, I just want to say, if you would like to connect with me, please feel free to connect with me on Twitter. My handle is at Convo Me Podcast. And then I also have a Facebook page. It's Etsy Conversations Podcast. I'm on both quite frequently, and I like connecting with you. So if you're listening and we haven't touched bases yet, feel free to reach out. So Alicia runs the Etsy shop AH Engineer. And Alicia, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me, Ajima. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I think you were one of the first people who responded when I did that backup episode. And I was happy because you connected me not just with yourself, but then also with Susan, whose podcast recently aired. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Oh, yeah. So can you introduce yourself to the listener?
Yeah, my name's Alicia, and I have been making jewelry probably for over 10 years now. I've been doing it since I was little, and it's my hobby and my passion. And I started just making jewelry for myself and then realized I have way more jewelry than I can ever wear. And so my family and friends encouraged me. They always gave me lots of compliments on my designs, and so they encouraged me to set up an Etsy shop.
Great. So was that the first time you discovered Etsy when they told you about Etsy?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I think I just had kind of heard about it through the news, and then friends have just like, oh, this is a great place for handmade crafts and handmade objects as well as vintage items. So I just started looking and browsing, and then kind of went from there.
Oh, good. So when you first discovered Etsy, your initial you first opened up a shop. You didn't start off just shopping around.
Yeah, I just kind of jumped in head first and just went in at the deep end and tried to set up a shop. And I knew it was something that I wanted to try because I hope that people appreciate and enjoy my jewelry as much as I do. So
very nice. So tell us specifically, what type of jewelry do you sell on Etsy?
Well, I hand make everything. I just look for interesting pieces. My mom always likes to say that at the store the beads just speak to me, and then I just play around with them, and I love patterns and just abstract. I like stuff that is bold and maybe a little bit stretched from just the classic string of pearls. I like to push the boundaries a little bit.
Nice. So when you first opened your Etsy shop to sell the jewelry, what was your original intention? Just to offload all the excess jewelry you were making, or was it, what was your intention?
I kind of wanted just to get feedback outside of my family and friends of, okay, what I'm making, does it really make sense? I don't really have a fashion background or anything like that, and I wouldn't say I'm super fashionable just in general, but I wanted to see, okay, is this just beyond my friends and family being nice, but also to maybe fund this hobby. And then eventually, as I've gotten more into it, I would love to have a line that people come to for unique items and unique jewelry pieces that they don't just see standard in the store.
Oh, good. So right now, do you have a job outside of Etsy?
I do. I'm a civil engineer by day. And then I make jewelry by evening and weekends.
Yeah, I knew that, but I wanted you to say it. So, how is it making the mind switch from your day job as a civil engineer and then getting into a creative zone to make your jewelry?
Yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging. Engineering is very structured, and but I get to do a fair amount of creativity with my job. I'm kind of in the land development area, so I get to work with different architects and mechanical engineers and owners, trying to help them best fit their product for the property that they're interested in. So that's nice to have that creativity, but
Right.
the jewelry making is really my creative outlet, and where I just sit and let myself do it, and then I see what I make at the end, and I'm usually pretty happy with it, or sometimes I'll start over and remake it. But.
Okay. Do you ever find that some of your pieces reflect projects that you're working on at work?
I don't know that. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they're kind of a different spectrum.
Okay. Okay. So it's a nice separation.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you manage your time working full time and then trying to grow an Etsy business on the side?
It's a struggle. It's definitely a struggle. My current position is very demanding in my day job, and so sometimes I get home really late, and then I have to find time for dinner and spend time with my husband. And so the Etsy shop right now has been pushed back a little bit, which I am working on to try and carve out those times, especially on the weekends, and then like Friday evenings to work on it and really refine my shop and make it better, and as well as just create and have that time just to create and relax.
Okay. So when you're creating, what inspires you to make the pieces that you do?
I think it's really the colors and then the textures of the different beads. I like stuff that has kind of dimension to it, and just a lot of color, bright, bold, something out there that will be a showpiece for when you're wearing it. And it's not just something, it's an expression of who you are when you're stuck kind of in that engineering format of you dress in a typical kind of uniform. And so having that feminine look of the jewelry really is something nice in the engineering male-dominated world.
Right. Oh, nice. So do you spend time looking at shops of other jewelry makers that maybe make things similar to what you do?
Not a whole lot. I definitely support other people I'm on part of an Etsy team, North Georgia Etsy, and I look at their shops and how they've branded, and that's where I need to work on, is branding and presenting a cohesive look, and I really admire some other people that have done that very well. Okay. So I look for ideas along those lines, but I don't want to look too much at the jewelry and risk copying.
Right.
They definitely have. It's great to pull ideas from other people and make modifications, but I want it to be my pieces and where it's coming from me.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot is, it's nice to look to see how people are doing things, but then you don't want to look too much because then you don't want to subconsciously, create or recreate something someone has already made. Have you had any bad experiences thus far in the time you've been on Etsy?
No, I wouldn't say so. I had one item that was branding became an issue, and so it was just deactivated, but that was a learning experience of how to say something is inspired by a brand without any kind of copyright infringement or anything like that. So that was an interesting learning experience, just of how to deal with that.
So did you incorporate a brand that belonged to someone else that was perhaps copyrighted, and then that was what the issue was?
Yeah, it was the bead fabric and style was inspired by another brand, and so I was not trying to copy or anything. I think just maybe in how I marketed it, it came across as a infringement, and so it was not my intention, but it was something that came up, and so it's not listed, and it's just a piece for me, which is fine, but it's a learning experience of where I think that's really interesting with like when you have pieces that are inspired, but I think about like fan art that's inspired by like comic books or Disney characters, and then you have your deviant art that does those characters in a slightly different light. So that's always really interesting to me, is just how that works. So
Okay. Oh, cool. So how do you deal with, or if you've ever had to deal with negative feedback or a dispute on Etsy, how have you handled that?
I have fortunately have not had too much negative feedback. I definitely try to listen to what the person is asking about the product, and if there's something that's defective, I definitely want to give them the best product possible and be able to try to meet their needs and make them happy. I want them to enjoy and love the piece that they order from me and purchase from me. So I just try to work with the person and go through that and just see what their comments are and try to address them.
Okay. So communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we hear that very often, talk to people, everything, communicate, and then, that resolves or prevents, I should say, a lot of problems.
Yes.
How currently are you promoting your Etsy shop?
Mainly through, I have a Facebook page set up that my friends and family and others can see, and so I add new items there and promote those, as well as my main promotion is through the North Georgia Etsy team. I really appreciate the teamwork between everyone on the team, and really we do blitzes every so often, and people create treasury lists, and so I definitely try to promote those treasury lists to see the different selection items that are available through our team, and then the variety there. So
What's a blitz?
it's kind of just, we typically do like a one day on a weekend where we ask the team to specifically spend 15 minutes promoting everybody else on the team, so that you can get additional favorites and likes, and just to help promote this team so that you're more visible.
Oh, so do you go to the shops of other team members and favorite or like different items of theirs?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's a good tip. So do you use any other social media to help promote your Etsy shop?
I'm on Twitter, and I do a little bit with that, but it's my account right now is more of my personal account and my personal thoughts, so it's not as dedicated to promotion.
Okay. Have you found on Facebook, do you do a lot of, and I'm always this is just my own curiosity, on Facebook for the page for AH Engineer, do you do a lot of interaction with the people who like your page, or is it primarily just a place for you to post what's on sale in your Etsy shop? How do you handle your Facebook page?
Right now it's more of a promotion page, but if anytime someone comments, I definitely try to comment back and just say thank you for the feedback. And I would like to get into more interaction, and I think that's something that I need to work on, of just how to create interaction and have, by either posting things I like or things that inspire me to create jewelry, and kind of share that a little bit more background.
Yeah. I'm always curious because social media is work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's just always just hard to figure out what the best strategy is. And I hear that phrase so much, social media strategy. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting of just like, well, you don't want to just be purely promotion. You want to have that personal background, but you don't want to be, I guess, like my Twitter account right now is really just my personal thoughts. And so it's not really, if someone follows just for the crafting aspect, they're not getting what they really might expect. So
right.
It's definitely, there's a fine balance that I think is hard to figure out and nail down.
Yes. And then there's the time factor too.
Mm-hmm.
They're time consuming. Do you have a website or a blog outside of Etsy that you use for your jewelry?
I do not. I've thought about it, but I just haven't. Time is a big investment. And so right now I just don't know that I would be doing it justice. So I have not.
Right. And I know because you're working full time, it's kind of hard. But how much time would you say you spend on your Etsy shop right now?
I would say definitely a couple hours a week.
Okay.
It kind of comes and goes. If I'm on vacation, I definitely spend a lot more time on my shop. I'm definitely checking it every day and looking at stats. I'm kind of addicted to the stats feature and seeing how it ebbs and flows. But yeah, with my current position, it's very demanding, so I don't get to spend as much time as I would like. But I'm hoping that will change in the future.
Oh, good. Let's talk about stats. What stats specifically do you like to look at, and how do you use that information?
I definitely am trying to figure out how to apply the stats. I like looking at the overall views and the overall favorites, and I definitely see peaks when we're having like a team blitz, it's great. And then I usually when that happens, I see also other people from outside of my team that has like popped up through the Etsy search because it's become a piece has become more favorited. It's not the correct wording, but through
we make up our own terms.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see like how much that helps and how much supportive team members help. And I like seeing like when people are searching, because like it seems like you get more views in the evenings and like during the week, and then like peaks and flows, and then definitely peaks when you list a new item. And so it's interesting.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm always curious to how people use different stats, because there's a lot of information provided, and it helps to know, well, what can you, they give it to you for a reason.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes like, okay, what do I do with this one? How am I supposed to respond or react to this particular stat? So it's good to know. Would you say that since you opened your shop on Etsy, it's had the impact that you expected, or were you expecting something different?
I think yes, it has. It's definitely slow growing, which I understand, and I have not been able to invest the time that I would like to have it grow more. And I think as I learn more about branding and promotion and SEO, which is a whole it takes a month to learn that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's slow growth, but I'm pleased with the progress so far based on the amount of time and learning process and learning curve that I've had over the.
Good. Where do you go to get information that you need?
I searched the Etsy handbook, and then also my team has a discussion board that there's a lot of interesting people will pose questions of, oh, should I open another shop for this other item I want to list? Or can you give me some advice on this listing? What do I need to do to make this improved? So that discussion board is really helpful. There's a lot of helpful hints on that. The team also has a blog, North Georgia Made and North Georgia Etsy team, that has like a workshop on it that has lots of information for team members. So that's really helpful just to ask and see how is someone else doing this? How is someone else approaching this?
I'm really loving this North Georgia Etsy team.
Yes, I love them.
Yeah, it sounds just wonderful. And anyway, that's a whole different topic, and we talked about it already, so I won't go back to it. So would you say that you've developed new relationships through Etsy, business connections or friendships, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. My Etsy team, North Georgia, has been a huge. I feel like I've gotten to know Susan and some of the other team members a little bit better, and have come across them at craft fairs when I'm just out observing.
Nice.
And so it's exciting to be able to see them and put the personal face, physical face with the name online. And Susan and others have been great for feedback on how to better my shop and better my brand. So
yeah. Oh, excellent. And I guess that's one of the good things about joining a local Etsy team is that you can do, what's the word? Physical events. So you can take things offline and get more exposure that way, or, it helps to be able to do local events.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, good. So in the time that your Etsy shop has been open, have you ever wanted to quit or close your shop?
I have considered it.
You have?
I have just because I feel like I'm not doing it justice sometimes based on the amount of time I spend on it. But I love what I do, and so I just keep plowing ahead and keep improving, and so hopefully I won't ever close it.
Hope not, yeah.
Yeah.
When you get a new idea for a new piece or a new set, because I know you do jewelry sets as well, how long does it typically take you to go from, the idea, from the time you have it to actually executing it, creating the pieces, and then listing them on Etsy?
Creating the pieces, depending on how complicated, can be just like 30 minutes to a couple hours. I definitely, when I get in the zone, I can get pretty quickly through pieces, and sometimes I amaze my family. I'll sit at family functions and I'll have my beading stuff on my lap, and then all of a sudden I have like 3 necklaces, and they're like, "What have you been doing? How did you do this?" But getting from the piece to Etsy that takes a little bit longer because I want to try and get the pictures, and we just recently moved into our first house, so
congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't have like a space set up, and now I do, and so trying to work through how to take pictures in that space and get really, really good, strong pictures for the product up onto Etsy has taken a little bit longer, so it can be like a week or so depending on time.
Okay. Oh, nice. That's interesting. So the actual listing is where you get is more of your sticking point than the creation.
It is, yeah.
Oh, wow, nice. So you definitely are creative. That's what comes easier.
Yes, yeah.
Do you find that you sometimes get into a creative rut, and how do you get yourself out?
I think sometimes, yes. Just with stress of life and work, I just haven't made that time to create, and so then I can get, when I sit down, I'm like, I don't know where I want to start, but usually just pulling out my beads and laying out the different storage, lots of storage of beads collection, and just looking at colors and just pulling them together and pulling beads and thinking, okay, I like this kind of combination, or I have some kind of, I like center pieces to a necklace, and I'll pull those out and, okay, what was I thinking with this? And so I just take time to kind of lay out and think about what I want to put together. And
wow, nice. What would you say are some things that you've done to set yourself up for success on Etsy? Or what would, now that you've been on Etsy for a couple of years, what are some things that you think you would like to do to be more successful?
I think creating a more cohesive look of just presenting the pictures. Right now, I kind of played with some different backgrounds for jewelry, which is, some of them I like, and some of them I think it features well, and then others it just doesn't quite pop as much as I would like. So creating kind of that consistent brand, trying to figure out how best to describe the girl that wears my jewelry, which is me, and sometimes I feel like I can't describe myself because I'm a little bit all over the place and a little eclectic, and but it's adding that punch of like color and bold something to just a simple t-shirt and jeans is what I love most. So I think working on the brand is where I would like to work and improve most, and how to present that. I think my jewelry is pretty unique, so that I think that sets me up pretty well, but creating a cohesive look, something that people want to stop and look through other items when they find one.
Okay. And you're right. The word you consistently use to define it is bold, and that's exactly what it is. I picture, like you were saying, jeans and a white T-shirt. Oh, it would look so good because it just, you know how you can wear jeans and a T-shirt and you look dressed down, and then you can put jewelry on, specific types, and then you look like, you're ready for an event.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that look.
Yes, me too. Yeah, and that's kind of what your jewelry reminds me of. It's the, I'm taking it from an afternoon stroll to an event. I'm going somewhere. Yeah. What if you could choose a new feature or a feature that doesn't currently exist on Etsy? What would you like to see added?
I think they're actually working on this. I have an Android phone, and so the Etsy mobile app on Android it's great for browsing, but it doesn't have a lot of features for sellers to be able to do stuff on the fly. And so when I'm traveling, I would love to be able to create listings when I don't have my bead stuff, but I have the pictures and I'm ready to do that listing. So to have that mobility would be really nice. And they're working on that, and I'm part of the beta testing team. I'm hopefully going to get to have that link soon to try the new Android app and be able to play with it and see how that functionality works. I also think videos. I really loved your video about Jess Craft's card.
I'm so embarrassed by that video.
No, I loved it. I loved that you gave your reaction, and so I would love to be able to see like people's feedback on reviews and reviews via video of, I love this piece. See how it works on this outfit, and kind of get that more personal feedback.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. Video feedback. Yeah, that would be nice because then you get to see exactly what the person's impression was, or their reaction rather was.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's good.
Yes.
You don't want the angry ranting video.
Yeah. Sometimes they're entertaining, but nobody wants that for their shops.
No, not really. How did you get on the beta testing team for the Android app?
I was looking at the shop seller tools, and they have different teams on there that you can sign up to kind of test like some of its currency exchange and how they can better improve that. And so I saw the one for the Android, and I signed up, and I hadn't heard a whole lot about it, but it seems like they're finally ready to release an app for beta testing and really to get that feedback. And I love that about Etsy, that they really are trying to test and see what is best. And so I sometimes see changes to my shop. Like right now I'm looking at a different homepage kind of setup that's a little bit different, that doesn't have the banner, and so that's really interesting to see that. And sometimes it's a little scary of like, oh, this looks completely different than what I expect. I hope it still works. And so it's interesting. I love that Etsy asks for the seller's feedback and for that communication and trying to really make it the best possible selling and exchange of ideas and creativity.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's funny you say that about your shop, because the first time I looked at your shop, which was a few weeks ago, it looked completely different. And then I pulled it up again today just, to have it in front of me, and yours has changed to the new format. I know not everybody's shop has this new look. It's a cleaner, more streamlined look, but then you lose the banner, which who know, I don't know if that's a bad or a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And the shop seller tools, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because it's a good way for people to help try out new features that Etsy is testing. Just this morning, I was looking at the vacation setting tool. I don't know if you've ever used that before. But they're testing something now where, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, where if you go on vacation, your items can still be visible if people go to your shop. And I'm not sure. I have to look and see what the prototype is, whether it will let them purchase it and then you can ship it when you return, or if it just leaves it so they can see it, so they, they can mark it to come back and, when Etsy sends them the email that you're back. Because currently now, if you go on vacation, everything disappears.
Right.
So I was thinking of doing that prototype and seeing, how that will work. But then you don't want people waiting too long, because people sometimes forget that you said you were on vacation, and then it takes forever, and, then it could affect your feedback. So
yeah, that's interesting. I've seen that in our discussion board on our Etsy team of how to note that you're going on vacation, so you can't send it out right away. And a lot of people have addressed that just in their shop announcement. But you're right, if they don't read that shop announcement, they may not realize until they complain that, it took forever to come. And it's like, well, I did tell you, but it didn't quite come across. And so that's interesting to hear that Etsy's looking at a better way to do that. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think so too. So what's one piece of advice that you would give to either a new seller to Etsy or someone who's sitting on the fence about opening a shop on Etsy?
I think just have faith in yourself. Definitely go for it. Try it out. Don't be afraid. Because it's a really neat to get that feedback on your item, whatever it may be, and what you think is what you love, and know that other people love and appreciate it as well. I think being able to carve out the time is just a really strong point of investing the time, and it's going to take time. Your shop's not going, unless you're a miracle, going to be an instant success. It's going to take time, and so don't get discouraged. Just try to find maybe a team or some other Etsy sellers that'll help give you feedback and give you advice. Okay.
And regarding the teams, how did you decide what team you wanted to belong to?
I kind of just looked. Initially, I kind of saw Etsy teams. I wasn't sure what it was about. And so initially, I kind of joined some that were just stuff that I was interested in. And then I found the North Georgia one, and I really saw what a team could be, and the ability for... I really enjoyed the North Georgia because I can run into other shop sellers in the area, and they post about other craft fairs that I could potentially sell at. And so getting that local advice to expand my ideas was really beneficial. Nice. So yeah, it's hard to see, and you kind of just look for, okay, what are you looking for? Are you looking for just sharing your passion about you love something else like Doctor Who or whatever it may be? And then do you have one that's dedicated really to improving your shop and providing that feedback and help promoting your shop? Yeah.
And you're right. That's one of the things Susan said too, was understand what the purpose of the team is. And that helps in making a decision about what teams to join.
Definitely.
What would you say is something that you're doing right now that's working really well for you?
I think participating in North Georgia, we do blitzes as well as like shop sales, Christmas in July event that we is wrapping up, as well as like events at Christmas and events at the fall. So writing a blog post for that of just stuff that you love. Like I did one about why I love fall. So just providing that so that there's different content between just promoting the items, but also promoting the lifestyle, I guess, that goes along with purchasing those items from Etsy. And so I think that has been the biggest help for me.
Oh, good. So you said you wrote a blog post, and that's for the North Georgia Etsy team blog. Okay, so do all the members get to contribute posts to the blog?
Yeah, it's definitely open. We usually, Susan's really good about giving heads up of deadlines that she needs blog posts by, so that she can take time to put them on the blog and make it a very cohesive look and cohesive idea. So like with the Christmas in July, there were some recipes for like rum cake and Christmas type items. So that I think is really good. And yeah, anyone can participate, and we try to make sure Susan does a good job of making sure that the members are actively participating, and it's not just you're sitting on there and just gleaning favorites and others from everybody else, but you've got to actively participate. So
wow. Yeah. Oh man, I'm so envious of the North Georgia team.
I love them. I definitely do.
Too bad I'm not out there.
Yeah.
I would join.
Yeah.
So, Alicia, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I definitely check Etsy every day, and I love when I get the little notification noise on my phone of getting like a message or a sale or whatever it may be. It always makes me really excited. So through my Etsy shop, you can Convo me, or through Twitter, I check that every day, as well as Facebook. So you can send me a message there or a post, and I'll definitely do my best to respond. I try to respond as fast as possible, and so I just love having conversations. So any of those methods work best.
Okay. Thank you very much. And yes, she's very responsive. I think I've talked to you in almost all those, maybe not on Etsy, but Twitter and on Facebook. And you it's like you're there all the time.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, a little addicted.
I know, me too. So don't feel bad. Yeah. Thank you so much for being my guest. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I really appreciate that you reached out. I'm glad you did.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I love listening to the podcast and listening to everybody's perspectives. So it's just been really encouraging. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Alicia. And if you have any feedback for Alicia or on this episode, I'm going to have the links to everywhere you can reach her. You can also go directly to the website convome.com and comment on this episode. Until then, I will talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.